What's up, everybody? It's Mackie Ninja here, and today we're going to be talking about Demon Slayer Part 2 and picking up where we left off from our previous video. As Akaza and Giyu continue their battle, Giyu begins to realize that Akaza's attacks are not only becoming stronger and more accurate, but is being able to anticipate Giyu's attacks. And Giyu begins to think to himself that Akaza is the man of carnage that has given up everything but fighting. Akaza gets right in front of Giyu's face and says, "That's enough, Giyu. I'll end this now. I'm amazed at how long you've lasted." While all this is going on, Tanjiro's in the background, watching Akaza and Giyu fight. He's trying to re-enter the see-through world to observe Akaza's movements and understand them. Giyu performs a downward slashing slice to cut Akaza's head, but Akaza is quickly to punch Giyu's sword from the side, and by doing so, breaking Giyu's blade. And with Giyu wide open, Akaza prepares to punch a hole right through Giyu's stomach. And in a flash, Tanjiro is able to slice off Akaza's arm before it makes contact with Giyu's body. Giyu is left in complete disbelief that Tanjiro was able to stop Akaza in the midst of his attack, and even states that his breath sounds sound different than they were before. And it's in this moment that Akaza realizes how dangerous Tanjiro is and that he needs to eliminate him right now. Akaza quickly regrows his arm and prepares technique development and unleashes chaotic blue metal afterglow. Both Giyu and Tanjiro sustain heavy damage from Akaza's attack. It's at this point that Akaza believes that he's killed Tanjiro and begins to make a proposal to Giyu about becoming a demon, but he fails to realize that Tanjiro is standing just behind him. Tanjiro shouts, "Akaza, I will cut your head off right now." As Tanjiro and Akaza start to battle, Akaza thinks to himself, how can Tanjiro still be alive after taking a beating like that? And then he thinks, no problem, my destructive kill compass will detect his battle spirit. As Tanjiro and Akaza continue to battle, Akaza begins to realize that Tanjiro's battle spirit is completely gone and is trying to calm his nerves down. Tanjiro quickly finds his opportunity and performs Dance of the Fire God, the Setting Sun, and chops off Akaza's head. Akaza is completely caught off guard and even begins to think that in all of his centuries he has never seen a human with no battle spirit. Akaza continues to question why he was unable to detect Tanjiro's fighting spirit and begins to wonder if he had obtained some kind of supreme state. Akaza quickly snaps out of it and realizes that I can still fight and I can still get stronger, and begins to try and reattach his head to his torso. Both Tanjiro and Giyu realize that Akaza is trying to reattach his head, and Giyu quickly launches his sword, piercing Akaza's head as it falls to the ground. As Akaza's head bobbles around the floor, it begins to disintegrate, and Tanjiro begins to realize the toll this battle has taken on his body. Giyu then realizes that Akaza's body isn't even starting to crumble. Tanjiro and Giyu both realize that the decapitated neck got sealed off and that the body continues to move and attack Tanjiro and Giyu to finish them both off. Akaza's body lands multiple blows on Tanjiro, sending him into the wall. And it's at this point that Tanjiro faints and passes out. As Akaza's body begins to prepare for another attack to finish off Tanjiro, Giyu quickly grabs his broken sword and unleashes Breath of the Water, fourth form, striking Tide. Giyu's attack slices through Akaza's body, however he begins to regenerate despite losing his head. Giyu continues to unleash a fury of attacks on Akaza's body in order to stop him from targeting Tanjiro. Giyu begins to yell at Akaza's body, "If you want to kill Tanjiro, you'll have to get through me first." Akaza begins to have a flashback of a conversation he had between him and his master back in the day, where his master told Akaza that we are not samurai, we have no katanas, but we wield swords in our hearts. The only thing we use are our fists. As we continue with Akaza's flashback, we begin to see Akaza's wife asking him to just stop already and asking him to go to the other side. And then she continues to ask him, but why? And Akaza begins to explain that if he doesn't become stronger, I won't be able to bring it back. Akaza then continues to say, if I don't become stronger, I can't run away with the stolen wallet. If I don't become stronger, I won't beat the people who come back for revenge. If I don't become stronger, I'll get taken to the magistrate and beaten. Akaza then continues with his flashback and recalls all the times that the people referred to him as a demon child and when his father hung himself, and recalls a letter that his dad wrote him. Dear Hijaku, live an honest life. You can still turn over a new leaf. I don't want to live off money that has been stolen from others. I'm sorry for being a nuisance. We continue with Akaza's flashback, where he is frustrated over the fact that his father gave up so easily when he was willing to die for him, willing to fight anyone for him to retrieve his medicine to help make his father better. It's also during this flashback that we see Akaza's first encounter with his master and finding him where he is beating up several adults and even commenting that he has good muscles and he must feel pretty good about himself being able to beat up adults with bare fists. His master then challenges him to come at him and then ends up beating the crap out of him and knocking him out for several hours. Once Akaza awakens, his new master takes him back to his dojo and talks to him about being a caregiver for his sickly daughter. We then see Akaza continue with his flashback as he provides care for his master's daughter and some of the interactions they have between one another. And then we see how Akaza's master obtained his dojo, showing that he saved an old man when he was being attacked by a group of bandits. Then we see the master being harassed by another group of individuals from the dojo next door to his, saying they wanted his land. Akaza then recalls another memory that he had where he was training with his master, saying that training and nursing his daughter healed his heart. After 3 years had passed at the dojo, Akaza was confronted by his master, asking him to not only take over the dojo, but also marry his daughter. That following day, Akaza went to his father's grave to tell him of his marriage. While Akaza was away, everyone at the dojo was poisoned, including his master and his soon-to-be wife. After Akaza sees his wife's body, he recalls a memory of where him and her went to go see the fireworks and a small conversation that they had. After Akaza returned to the dojo and being informed of this incident, he then went to the neighboring dojo that poisoned his dojo and murdered all of the people within there. After Akaza laid waste to the neighboring dojo and all of its inhabitants, it was described as a scene from hell where chins, brains, eyeballs, and limbs were scattered everywhere and covering the ceiling and walls. As Akaza was on his way back to his dojo, he finally encounters Muzan. As both of them are about to engage in a fight, Muzan quickly stabs his hand right through Akaza's head and says, I was thinking about creating 12 strong demons. Can you withstand the amount of blood I will give you now? Akaza then recalls why he became a demon and how he lost all of his memories, chasing after strength because he was unable to protect the ones he loved the most. And while Akaza is looking at Giyu, he's remembering why he despises humans so much, because of their weak and frail bodies. Akaza then begins to start regenerating his head and starts getting ready to prepare for his destructive kill obliteration style. Tanjiro quickly awakens and realizes that Akaza is preparing to attack and goes to slash at Akaza's head. However, his grip is too weak and his sword falls out of his hand, so he goes to punch Akaza right in the face. It's in that moment that Tanjiro again reminds Akaza of his master. And then Tanjiro quickly realizes that he's unable to stop Akaza from doing his attack, so he quickly leaps and tackles Giyu to try and get him out of range of Akaza's attack. As Tanjiro is falling to the ground, he sees Akaza's face for a moment, and it appears to be a smile. It's in that moment that Akaza unleashes his attack on himself, destroying his body. It's in this moment that Akaza acknowledges that he has lost, and he instructs his body to stop regenerating. He realized that in that moment, the match was over and he had lost. Akaza then begins to see his father and asks him, "Are you okay now? You're not in pain?" His father smiles and says, "I'm fine. Thank you." Akaza then recalls a moment between him and his master, saying that no matter what you become, a son's a son and a student's a student. We won't abandon you even if you die. And then Akaza sees another moment where he's talking to Muzan, and Muzan says, "Didn't you want to get stronger? Are you going to let it end here?" Then in the next instant, Akaza sees his wife, thanking him and saying that you've done enough. And we see Akaza return back to his human form as his wife pulls him in closely, and Akaza begins to cry and say that he's sorry for not being able to protect you, and I'm sorry for not being with you when you need me. His wife then begins to cry and saying that I'm glad you remembered all of us, and I'm glad you returned to being the old Haijuku-san. Welcome back, my husband. It's in this moment that Akaza regains a sense of his humanity, and we see his body begin to turn to dust and evaporate. Tanjiro and Giyu both have a sigh of relief for the moment, and shortly after seeing this, Tanjiro then passes out. The Upper Moon 1 and 2 quickly sense the presence of Akaza leaving. There's then a short moment where Doma is pitying the loss of Akaza and saying that he never ate a woman or killed them. Kane quickly snaps Doma out of his supposed sadness and accuses him of having no feelings at all and that everything that comes out of his mouth is all but lies. Doma then rebuttals and says, "I have never come across a bully like you. How can you say something so cruel?" And Kane coldly replies, "Don't you get it? I hate you. I want to lop off your head and send you to hell this instant." At this comment, it angers Doma, and he quickly goes to lob off Kane's head, but she quickly dodges it and then slices through his stomach. Doma pauses for a second and realizes that Kane's movements have not only gone faster, but she's also now starting to read his movements. Doma also realized that Kane is not inhaling the powdered ice being dispersed by his fans, and saying this is quite a feat not to breathe. Doma then concludes that this girl could actually be more powerful than the pillar girl I just ate. And Kane is beginning to realize that she is filled with rage, that her body just won't stop trembling, that if she doesn't put all of her strength into her fingertips, that her body will begin to tear itself apart. Kane quickly lunges towards Doma and unleashes Breath of the Flower, 5th form, Panoia Futility. Doma quickly responds with that this is the 10th straight attack you've unleashed upon me. Now it's my turn. Blood Demon technique, Snowfall in a Wilted Garden. To counter this, Kane quickly unleashes 2nd form, Plum Spirit. Doma then realized that Kane has special eyes, and that she's able to not only endure his attacks, but be able to predict his faint movements and then counter them. Doma decides, let's quickly gouge out her eyes. Kane quickly dodges it and then uses 6th form, Swirling Peach. Doma dodges it and then unleashes Demon Blood technique, Frozen Cloud. Kane quickly leaps backwards because she was too close and she had to close her eyes, otherwise they would have frozen. Doma quickly sees this opportunity and unleashes another Blood Demon technique, Vine Lotus. Doma sees Kane struggling to keep up with his attack, so he unleashes another one, White Blizzard Princess. This attack even further pushes back Kane. Kane then realizes that there's winter icicles just above her head, so she leaps even further backwards, just barely dodging them. Doma remarks, "Hey, you're moving further and further away. You gotta get closer, or else you can't get my head." Doma quickly snatches Kane's sword without her even realizing it, and then comments, "Okay then, I'll just stick it here." Doma then quickly unleashes another blood demon technique, Scattered Lotus. Kane, without her sword, tries to quickly discern what's the best move to make. And then Inosuke crashes through the above floor and says Inosuke-sama is descended from the heavenness. Kane is caught in shock, and Inosuke unleashes Breath of the Beast, fifth thing, Mad Cleave. After Inosuke deflects Doma's attack, he yells, You're Upper Moon too. Your identity has been revealed. Now I know you're the second lackey from the top. Ha ha ha, if I beat you, then I'll become a pillar. Doma says, it's not like I'm hiding the fact that I'm Upper Moon 2 here. Inosuke and Kane begin to have a dialogue, and Inosuke begins to ask why is she all beaten up, and stating that Shinobu will get mad if she finds out. It's in this moment that Inosuke realizes that Shinobu is indeed dead. However, Doma exclaims that she'll continue to live on through him. Inosuke then has a flashback of Shinobu helping him with some of his injuries. Inosuke, angered by this new information, says, I'll gnaw you to shreds, trash. Inosuke quickly launches himself at Doma, preparing to attack, and Kane informs him not to inhale the cold air from his fans. Inosuke unleashes Breath of the Beast, fourth fang, minced to bits. Doma quickly comments on Inosuke's swordsman skills and says that's one messed up technique. You're making it somehow work with those chip blades and weird sword wielding skills. Doma quickly goes to strike Inosuke with his fan. However, Inosuke dodges it and uses his foot to push up on his fan. And with this, Inosuke follows up with a backflip. And Doma comments, so flexible, that's amazing. And that head, a mask, right? When Inosuke did his backflip, he retrieved Kane's sword and quickly returned it to her and asked, is this yours? Inosuke tells Kane never to lose her sword again. Doma approaches Inosuke to prepare for an attack. Doma unleashes a fury of attacks on Inosuke, and Inosuke quickly dodges them and then side kicks him in the stomach. Doma then goes to counter to cut off his foot. However, Inosuke is quick enough to retract his foot, and Doma is then sent flying backwards from Inosuke's kick. Doma comments, you're good. And then he knows something. What the? Is he holding his sword high? But I'm outside his range, right? He's way too far. Inosuke swings his arm, and Doma believes that he's out of reach. However, moments later, he realizes his eyes have been cut. Doma then is caught off guard, realizing he's been hit by Inosuke. And Inosuke reveals that he used the Breath of the Beast, ninth fang, godly unlighting slice. Kane is confused by this attack, saying that basically he dislocated his arm to get him. However, what is he going to do now? And Inosuke quickly pops his arm back into socket and reconnects it. Inosuke is then frustrated because his technique is still not accurate. He said that he aimed for his head but missed. And Kane is caught off guard and says, how can that be? Doma begins to mock Inosuke by saying that he has a seriously messed up existence. And Inosuke responds with, well, of course, I'm Inosuke-sama. All those others riffraff are losers. Doma quickly snatches Inosuke's mask and begins to examine it and saying that this boar skin is quite aged. How did you tinker with the eyes? Inosuke becomes enraged after Doma steals his boar mask. And then as Doma begins to examine Inosuke's face, he begins to remember it and to recall a memory associated with Inosuke and his mother. And it turns out that Doma actually took in a woman that was being abused by her husband and wanted to escape with her child and arm, and arrived at Doma's cult, which ended up being Inosuke's mother. Doma begins to recall his memories of his mother and how similar they look to each other. And this enrages Inosuke and demands that Doma gives back his mask. Inosuke uses Breath of the Beast, sixth fang, and Doma quickly dodges it and then unleashes an attack that ends up slashing across Inosuke's chest. We then have a flashback of Inosuke as a baby with his mother, and Doma taking in his mother to his cult. But then, after a short while, Inosuke's mother figures out that Doma is eating his followers. After Inosuke's mother figures this out, she begins to escape Doma by running through the forest. However, she arrives at the edge of a cliff and is faced with the tough decision of what to do with Inosuke. So she decides that only one of them can survive, so she tosses him into the water, hoping that he'll survive in order for her to keep Doma preoccupied. Now we return back to the fight, and Inosuke is enraged after hearing that Doma is the one that's responsible for killing his mother and his friends. Inosuke yells at Doma, saying, "Don't talk about my mom, like she was unhappy, you dimwit." And Doma quickly responds with using one of his techniques, Frozen Cloud. In response to this, Inosuke quickly prepares to use Breath of the Beast, 10th Fang. And then Inosuke quickly transitions using Circular Fangs to repel Doma's attack. Doma quickly changes his target to Kane, and Kane prepares to attack in order to defend herself. Kane prepares to use Breath of the Flowers. However, Doma is quickly to react to this and uses his fan to deflect her sword and send her flying into the water behind them. Alright, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss on my future content. Until next time.